My name is Lenny Mesina, editor of the film Manny. It's actually a crazy story how I got involved through this film. I was finishing up the last documentary I did, which is Beats, Rhymes, and Life, The Travels of a Tribe Called Quest. And we were doing screenings at the Soho House in LA. Me and Michael Rappaport introduced the film. We come outside to have a meal, and as we're sitting there, he starts hitting my leg underneath the table. I was like, what's going on? What's going on? He said, look. And right next to us were these two dudes on a laptop looking at footage of Manny Pacquiao. And just 2 weeks earlier, one of my best editor friends was telling me that they're making a film about Manny, a documentary. And I was like, oh dude, that's what I want to do. I gotta get on that. It'd be the perfect follow-up. I did a film about my hip-hop heroes. If I could do one about my sports hero, and especially being a Filipino, it would mean like everything to me. So I was like, but I don't know how I'm gonna find these dudes. Turns out that the guy sitting next to me and Mike was Ryan, our producer director, as well as someone who's coming in to do music for the film. And I was like, well, what are you guys watching? They're like, we're doing a film on Manny Pacquiao. Now I'm the producer. And I was like, I've been looking for you. And from then on, we kind of became friends, and he came to our screenings, and I started doing like promo work, and then I ended up doing some scenes for the film. Then next thing you know, I'm brought on full time, and the rest is kind of history. From my end, it was about 1.5 years worth of editing, and there was an additional editor too, Doug Abel, who is working in New York as well. So it'd been going on for a while. All in all, probably about 2 years. Well, we had. We knew that we had to tell his backstory. That is the most interesting part of Manny's life. Is he came from dirt, like literal dirt, and for him to break out of the situation he was in, like living pretty much in the jungle, Serengeti, to move to Manila, stow away on a boat, and train to become a boxer and live in a gym. I mean, that's like the ultimate rags to riches story when he eventually becomes like this worldwide, hero and boxing champion. So we knew that we had to tell that part of his life in order for the payoff to be really rewarding for the audience, for the people who don't know him. I mean, for sure, I felt a responsibility in telling this story. And that's something that Ryan and Leon and I shared. We all knew that this is not just your regular boxer. This is someone who obviously deserves his own film, deserves his story to be told. So, and especially for me being Filipino, I mean, this was like, I had to do this for myself and for like my Filipino brothers and sisters. And just like it was, you can't live up to it, like what he's done, because he's done everything. You can just hope to just tell like his story in a good way. Well, I think that there's something in there for everyone. We needed to make this movie not just about boxing, because ultimately it's a human interest story. Yes. It's something that a lot of people can relate to. I think when you take away the sports, it's about the struggle, coming up through abject poverty, and making something of yourself is something that I think a lot of people can relate to. A lot of people want to know about how did this person go from there to being on top of the world. I guess it's something for the people who don't know about his story, but also we put in a lot of behind the scenes stuff for the box. You know, as far as how I felt about kind of revealing this other side of Manny that people don't know about, I was fine with it because I'm a filmmaker, I'm a documentarian, and if we're glossing over those things, then you're not being honest to the audience. It's a part of making documentaries. You got to show the bad with the good, and you know, we didn't sensationalize anything. We didn't try to make anything bigger than things have been reported. We just wanted to also pose questions. You know, we don't need to go in detail about all these things that have kind of followed Manny. I think Manny's purpose to me, I think, is just helping people. You know, he's such a kind-hearted person, and he uses his fame and his fortune to help the people in need because he came from that. So he understands what they need, you know. And I think that's the greatest achievement of Manny. He's a humanitarian. You know, humanitarian first, like boxer second, almost, you know? And I love that he uses whatever power he has to help his people. I think there was a time when it was. I mean, you saw the movie right around Marquez 3. He was really going back and forth with Congress and like a lot of other things going on in his life at the time, his marriage, and it all kind of came to a head right then. But I think he's refocused himself. You know, you see in his last fight against Rios,
he was on it.
Dominated him, you know? And then even in the Marquez 4 fight, he was winning that fight.
This one song stage.
Yeah, the split second, you know, but Marquez was, you know, almost gone. He was like on like a lifeline there. And even Bradley too. So everything after Marquez 3, I think we've been seeing the Manny that we all, you know and love without the knockouts.
Yeah.
You know, that came to us in a way that we didn't expect. Ryan and I were at the fight with a bunch of other people who were working on the film, and we saw him get knocked out. Don't know what's going on, you know, he's just laying there, motionless, face down on the canvas. And you know, we're live in the arena. We don't have the luxury of hearing commentators and saying like, oh no, he's moving, and you know, all that. So it was a trip to like see that and wonder like, is he alive?
Yeah.
And so we were all very down that night. The next day, Ryan and I are meeting for breakfast, talking about it, and then just kind of like, what if we started with that? Because the Marquez 4 beginning and ending was not the first version of our film. Okay. We had a version that started with Timothy Bradley and ended with Timothy Bradley, which is like the hugely controversial decision.
Yeah.
And then we had another version that began with Marquez 3 and ended with Marquez 3. I think that we knew that was the format that we wanted to go with. You know, start off on the wrong foot, bring it back up to speed, end it. You know, it was.
I like that decision too. I like that.
It was something that we had done with the Tribe Called Quest film, and Rappaport and I decided that it was best to start off with something that's going to make you question what this is all about, and that's what we did with the Manny film. You know, seeing him, the character, of the the star of the movie get knocked out within the first 5-10 minutes is like, you're like, whoa, what the hell? And then we just knew that it was going to end up there. So we gave the audience a perspective of where he is now, and then when you come back at the end of it, at the end of the film, it's like the emotional resonance.
Yeah.
So you actually feel like, oh wow, that was what I saw earlier, and it's just, it brings it full circle. Ronnie Nathalise, he's one of the commentators. He gave us like this library of footage that he's had for all his fights coming up, and that's like stuff I'd never seen. So when we had it, we're like, oh, we gotta put this in there, because everyone knows Manny now, HBO, 24/7, all that. Everyone's seen from like, Hatton on. Like everyone, those fights are still fresh in people's minds. But to see like a skinny kid who is like dwarfed by these other guys he's fighting, is crazy. And we knew that we had to put that on there. We knew that this is something that most people hadn't seen. That's a really hard question. Which film means more to me? Because there's another film that was here at South by for Beautiful Losers, which is a documentary about artists, like these artists who I had followed, growing up, seeing graffiti on the street and seeing the hip hop culture and skate culture, and it was like it's a culmination of these artists coming together, and that really meant a lot to me because I collected their art and they were like my art heroes, And so when I finished that in 2008, when we were here for South by, I was like, oh, it's not going to get any better than that. Like, you can't. Like, that was like my crowning achievement, But then Mike Rappaport comes up to me with this Tribe Called Quest documentary, and those are my hip hop heroes. So I was like, wow, like lightning struck twice, So that really meant a lot to me because the Tribe Called Quest music and that era of 90s hip hop is what I grew up on. So it meant like it was hugely important to me. And then when this movie came along, I mean, this is my sports hero, right? Yeah. So I feel that they're all kind of equal. Art, music, and sports, those are like the three of the biggest things in my life. So I can't really put one over the other, but I am Filipino. So making a movie about like the world's most famous Filipino means a lot. It's kind of like a legacy piece, I think. It's something that if I didn't do this and I'm in the theater like watch this like, oh man, I couldn't edit that movie, I would be like kicking myself forever. So I think they're all like they're all in the #1 slot, but maybe Manny's like like a sliver. Maybe it's hard to say.
Nice.
Hi, I'm Lenny Mesina, editor of the film Manny, and you're watching RubyHornet.com.